Okay, we're on. Good morning, everyone. Thanks so much for joining and taking your lunch hour with us, folks. We are going to give it just a couple more minutes for folks to pop in. I see folks kind of streaming in as we are speaking, which is great. And then we'll get rolling. We're sort of leveling off, Jim, around 63 or 5.
Yeah. We'll wait one more
10.
minute, then we'll start.
Okay. For folks who are with us so far, if we will leave a lot of time in the presentation for questions at the end, but if you have a question as we're going through, the easiest way to get it to us, since you can see us but we can't see you, is to type it into the Q&A box. You should have a Q&A function. For me, it's at the bottom of my Zoom screen. It might be on the top or on the side for you. But you can type a question into that and we'll either answer it live or we'll type an answer right back to you.
Okay, I'll start. My name is Jim Wendling from WBP Development. I'm joined by Andrew Smith, Deborah Post, Chance Mullen, Tina Brodsky, and Hannah Roth. For those of you that were at our Rochelle in-person presentation, this is basically our full team. Between us, we could answer all questions. But we're really excited to be speaking about Rose on Main and to give you all of the important details. And what we've learned over the past couple presentations is the most important part is what Andrew just said, the questions at the end. So we will save plenty of time, answer all your questions, use the Zoom feature, and we will get to those at the end. We're going to start with the presentation, though. My part is not the most detailed. That's for Andrew and Chance. They get into the very granular details. But Hannah and I wanted to introduce ourselves and our team. Um, well, I'll also point out that nothing has to be written down that we talk about tonight or today. Everything is on our website and all of the other websites that you will see when we get to the end of the presentation. So don't feel like you need to write any notes down as we go. And if we're going too quickly during the presentation, don't worry because all of this information is readily available. And you could also reach out to any of us for questions at the end. But essentially, Rose on Main in downtown New Rochelle is being co-developed by L&M Development Partners and WBP Development. We have together worked on Stella, which you see on the upper left hand. It's a 380 unit building, which sits adjacent to Rose on Main. It's a beautiful building that was finished in 2021. We were all really excited when it was finished, and we're equally excited about it now. We also together developed and built 25 Maple on Maple Avenue, which is a few blocks away from Rose on Main, 184 units. Many of you might be familiar with that as well. So our team really feels strongly about the New Rochelle market, and that's a good segue to Rose on Main. It is centrally located, close proximity to, thank you, Tina, close proximity to Metro North, to highways, to shopping, retail. Um, we put this site together going back in 2017, 2018, and then we built Stella and now we're building Rose on Main. And we really spent a lot of time on location and finding what we thought was a great spot for this building. These will be the first affordable condos in downtown New Rochelle. It's something else we're very excited about. Again, this slide just shows you the access to all the wonderful opportunities New Rochelle offers. For those of you that have not walked around the site, we would welcome you to do so. You can see how close we are to New Rock, to the train, to the shopping, to the businesses, to Anderson Park, which is another development that L&M and my team did with the city of New Rochelle. We encourage you to walk around the neighborhood to get a feel for it. to get a feel for the vibrancy and all that it has to offer. If you do walk around, you will notice that the building is 17 stories, and from the outside, it looks nearly done. You will see Jersey barriers and construction blocking the ground floor entrance, but from the outside, the building looks done. So if you're driving by or walking by, that is what the building looks like. We think it's a really beautiful design. We are now working on the interior. We're installing flooring and kitchen cabinets and tile and so forth and so on. But again, from the outside, you can get a sense of how it feels. The building that we're talking about is the building on the right, which sits right on Main Street. We have 126 homes. We have 14 studios, 57 one bedrooms, 41 two bedrooms, and 14 three bedrooms. And we have different um, unit sizes on each of the floors. So it's not like all the studios are on one particular floor. Each floor has studios, ones, twos, and threes. On the lowest floor, which sits above the parking podium, we also have terraces for the units on that level. This slide just gives you a feel for renderings with the finishes that we selected. So the kitchens, the cabinets, the appliances, the flooring, the windows are all based on an artist taking our construction drawings and our construction selections and rendering them so you can get a sense of what they look like. We have a lot of unique floor plans and layouts, which make it interesting, which we're excited about too. Stainless steel appliances, quartz countertops, luxury vinyl plank flooring, washers and dryers in the units, all the typical finishes that you would see in a market rate rental in Westchester County and in downtown New Rochelle. This slide references the many amenities the building has. On the ground floor, you have a lounge with a large screen TV, a beautiful fitness center, a library. We also have common laundry room on the ground floor, a package room, bike storage on the cellar level. And in the photo or the rendering on the lower left-hand corner, that is a rendering of the rooftop. So we have outdoor space on the roof for all the homeowners to enjoy. We spent a lot of time on the design, beautiful Long Island views, Long Island Sound views. So we're really excited about that. Not all the buildings in downtown New Rochelle have outdoor amenity spaces, and certainly not outdoor amenity spaces on the roof. So it's something that we're really excited about. The whole series of next slides shows, we basically took all our different floor plans and we put furniture in them so you can get a sense of how the furniture can lay out in different unit types from our smallest studio to our largest three bedroom. I will not spend a lot of time going through each of the unit types. You can see all of these on our website. I think we have every one on our website. But you can see we have ranges between each of the studios, ones, twos, and threes. The floor plans differ a little bit. And the purpose of the furniture is something we as a team always think is helpful, just to see how furniture and closet sizes lay out. So these are called bird's eye views, and they're available on our website. And then this slide we put together, we spent some time on in discussing, how to impress upon people the value of home ownership compared to renting. And we think this slide, tells a pretty clear story that it provides stability, it provides predictable monthly cost, home ownership that is. It's an investment, certainly. It's creating financial security. In rentals, rental prices typically go up each year. Amenity costs go up each year. Parking costs go up each year. Here you're putting equity down and you have a fixed cost and you're creating a great opportunity. And that's why we as a team are so excited about these condominiums. We are developing right now in White Plains. We're developing in this one in New Rochelle. We have others coming online. L&M's doing other ones in New York City. It's really a great and wonderful opportunity. For the past 10 or 12 years, there really hasn't been any programs available to create for sale affordable housing or for sale moderate income housing. These are priced at sale prices at 80% AMI. Household income can go up to 100% AMI. Chance and Andrew will get a little more into the details there. But the upshot of that is this is really a one-time opportunity that we think is really enticing, and we're really excited to be working on this. So with that, I'm going to transition. We'll transition over to Andrew and then Chance, and then collectively our team will answer all your questions at the end. So thank you.
Thank you so much, Jim. Again, so my name is Andrew Smith. I'm with Westchester Residential Opportunities, or WRO. Most of you would know us. Again, Jim mentioned questions. If you have questions, please put them into the Q&A function in the Zoom Q&A function. We'll try and either answer them live while we go or at the end, or if it just requires a quick response, we might just type a response back to you. Okay, so um, this is affordable housing, right? So the first question is, what does that mean? And affordable housing is sometimes kind of a confusing thing to people for several reasons. The first being that affordability for any given affordable housing project, affordability is at varying levels, right? So Jim mentioned 80% and 100%. We'll talk about that a little bit. AMI is, or area median income, is the metric that the government prescribes for how affordability is determined, and it's generally as a percentage of that AMI. Um, that AMI changes every year. Usually it goes up, although we all got surprised this year. It actually went down just a little bit, but it changes every year. So that's sort of the government's sort of thought on affordability. But for you, as you look at any opportunity, what you really need to think about is what is affordable to you. And your situation is going to be different than else's. It's not just about what kind of income you bring in, it's obviously how you need to spend your money, how much money you have available to spend on housing. So we'll dive into a little bit of those details. Um, so just holding for a second, if you look at this, there's a lot of information on this chart. So let me just slow down for a minute here. As Jim said, if you look at that third column in green at the top, the purchase prices for these units have been determined to be affordable to folks at 80% of the area median income. However, the folks who are eligible to buy them, your household income can go up to 100% of that area median income. Those are the numbers at the bottom in the blue. So those are, the maximum income for your household. It depends on the number of people in your household. So that's a really important concept to get right. Chance will talk more about sort of figuring that all out. What's your income? Um, your household size also determines which size of unit you're eligible for. So if you look again up top at the right hand household size, the you can't just say I'm one person, but I want to live in a three bedroom and I can afford it. The size units that you're allowed to purchase depend on the number of people in your household because the government wants the units to be well occupied and well used and to serve the community. Okay, so we've got studios, ones, twos, and three bedrooms. Um, just to just to focus for a moment on more numbers, there's a lot of math involved. I apologize, but at the very bottom of this slide, you'll see a reference to asset limits. Another very important thing to keep in mind with eligibility for these units is that each unit by size, but also within that size, there's some limited range depending on the footprint and all that. Each unit has an asset limit. So that is your household may not exceed a certain income level, but it also may not exceed a certain asset limit. That's cash in the bank, that's investment assets. It excludes qualified retirement and educational assets like a pension or a 401k or a 529 is the educational type of plan. But those asset limits are going to be very important. And Tina, we can go ahead to the next one. Thank you. Okay, so the purchase price is super important, obviously, but I guess what we'd encourage you to think about more than that headline price is the math that gets you to the monthly housing payment. Because ultimately, that's what you and your household needs to be able to come up with every month to pay these expenses. And that's how, when Chance and his team are evaluating whether or not you can afford this to purchase, they're really looking at what that payment is going to look like, what your other debts and expenses are that you have to, use your money for. Okay, so just looking at this example, these are all estimates. You're looking on the left at the least expensive unit, which is a studio, and at the right on the most expensive unit, which is a three-bedroom, to give you a sense of the range. So the first thing to note is there is a gross purchase price. That estimated gross price at the top is reduced by a New York State subsidy. So that $25,000 is a subsidy from New York State that reduces the purchase price that you have to pay. So when we talk about the purchase price for a studio, for example, we might reference the 352 number, because that's the actual price that you pay, because New York State is throwing in $25,000. These are modeled here showing a 10% down payment. Down payment is the money you put in at closing to reduce the amount of mortgage that you need. That down payment amount doesn't have to be 10%. It could be a different number. It could be 5%. It could be 20%. So all those all those factors are personal and individual, and they impact obviously the amount of mortgage that you're going to require. The mortgage is the biggest, the most important part of your monthly housing payment. Again, these are estimates. They're based on assumptions that might not be true for you. For example, a 7% mortgage rate. Some mortgage rates that we're seeing today are quite a bit lower than that. And that means the monthly cost is going to be lower. The other things you have to pay every month are property taxes and fees. In this case, it's something called a payment in lieu of taxes, or a pilot, and some municipal fees. That's the 124 on the left and the 339 on the right. You also pay, these are condominium units, so you pay what's called a common charge or a common fee every month. That is a dollar amount that you pay to maintain the building, and the actual dollar amount is going to depend on the size of the unit, basically how many square feet it is. So ranging from 124 up, I'm sorry, from 330 up to 900. You will need to have insurance, home insurance, just like as a renter, you might have insurance. You have insurance for, basically, they call it walls in, because it insures what's inside your unit, not the building itself. That's taken care of by the common charges. So it's usually a relatively inexpensive insurance policy. And lastly, you have what's called private mortgage insurance. If your if the mortgage if your down payment is less than 20% of the purchase price, like in our example here, 10%, then you'll also have to pay what's called private mortgage insurance until your equity in the unit exceeds that 20%, at which point it goes away. But initial, at least, initially you need to be planning for that. Okay, Tina. Sorry, that was a lot, but it's a complicated process. Buying a home is a big deal, whether it's affordable or not. Okay, other things to keep in mind, this is affordable housing. You're buying a unit, but it is an affordable unit, and it has to stay that way for 60 years. It's a long time, right? That means as you plan ahead, people's lives change. You have to sell. You have to move, or you need to have some babies. You need a bigger home or whatever. You're allowed to resell the unit, but it's got to be remain subject to these affordability restrictions. So first of all, that means um, you're going to have to sell to another household, another family that also meets these income qualification guidelines that you're going to have to meet, that 100% area median income, whatever it is at the time that you sell. The unit has to be owner occupied, meaning it can't be rented out. You can't rent it out. The person who buys it from you can't rent it out. And the price at which you sell has to be an affordable sales price, right? So that means that your resale price is going to be essentially the price that you paid for it plus an inflation-based increase. So you will build equity, you will make money when you sell, we all hope. But it's going to be limited by that inflation-based increase. Last thing, I mentioned that New York State subsidy, the $25,000 on each unit, that remains as kind of a second mortgage, a second lien or on the property. So for 10 years. So if you were to resell within 10 years, no big deal. On its face, um, there's a recapture fee. You have to pay back a portion of that $25,000. It reduces over time from 0 to 10 years. In reality, um, don't worry too much about that. The New York State doesn't want their money back. They want this unit to stay affordable. And in our experience, New York State will allow the new buyer to assume the subsidy so that nobody needs to ever pay it back. That's the intention. All right, I'll turn it over to Chance.
Hey, everyone, thanks for joining us. As Jim initially said and Andrew said, my name is Chance Mullen. I'm the executive director at Housing Action Council. We're a nonprofit serving the lower Hudson Valley region, and we've been doing this for about 50 years. And this particular project is really special to us at Housing Action Council as it was named after my predecessor, Rose Noonan, who brought into existence a whole lot of the affordable housing that currently exists in our region. Um, so, so Housing Action Council is sort of at the middle of everything that you will navigate if you are interested in purchasing one of these units. We work with you, we work with the developer, we work with the various regulatory agencies to make sure that everything is done in accordance with the rules. So when your name comes up, if you apply and your name comes up in the lottery, we're the people that you're going to be working with. You'll work with us to qualify your income. You'll work with us to do your first time homebuyer education, or you can go out and get your first time homebuyer education certification done now. Um, and you'll work with us to put together the file that ultimately gets approved by the county and the state. We can, when we reach out to you, we'll send you a list of lenders that specialize in affordable housing, who will be very familiar with this project, because you will need to get a pre-qualification at the start of it. We can send you a list of attorneys who know how to navigate this process, and we can also give guidance on your budget and your plans to make sure that this is the right thing for you. So we'll get to know each other very well. Now, when it comes to that first part of the process, qualifying your income, that is going to be based on your household and the amount of money that you bring in to that household. And so these two questions that are on the screen: who is in my household? What is our income? To calculate both of those, it's the short answer is everyone and everything. So everybody who's going to be living with you in the unit, that's your household. What's your income? It's gross income. So your salary, your money that comes in from alimony, child support, retirement, all of that gets calculated as part of your income. And it's really important to understand this because this is going to determine whether or not you're eligible to purchase one of these units, and it will determine your household size will determine which units are available to you. So as Andrew had said, there are, you can only, if it's a studio, you have to be a one-person household. If it's a one-bedroom, you can be a 1, 2, 3 person household, and so on. Um, so, um, so next slide. So when you're filling out the application, that's the way to think of it. And it's okay to estimate when you first apply in terms of what your income is. Part of this process is us then going through your documents to give you a specific number for that. So Then you qualify. The question is, can you afford it? And this is always the more complicated piece of it. So even if you are under the limits, you're still going to have to go out and get a mortgage. And that mortgage, and Andrew showed you the chart of all of the different totals. You may be able to get a mortgage with an interest rate that's at 5.5%. That's going to save you a couple $100. But ultimately, your mortgage, your taxes, your condo fees, your insurance, all of these housing payments, plus your other credit report debts, your monthly payments on those, should not exceed 45% of your gross household income. So if your household income is $100,000, you shouldn't be spending more than 45,000 of that on this property. And that's a rule that you're going to have to abide by in order to be eligible to purchase this. Now, keep in mind, you're also going to have some cash on hand. I would estimate usually about 10% is the way to think of it. So you're probably going to have somewhere between 3 and 5% for your down payments, somewhere around 5% for your closing costs. You're going to have that in order to go through the process. At the same time, you can't have too much money. If you have more than it's a percentage, each unit is a little bit different. But if you've got $200,000 in your savings account, that's also going to violate the rules. Um, so so these are all things that are rules that are determined not by the developer, not by the bank, and not by anybody on this call. These are rules that are established by the federal government, by the state, by the county, to make sure that this opportunity goes to the folks it was intended to go to. Um, Separate from that, you will also need to go to mortgage lenders who will apply their own criteria to determine how much they're willing to lend to you. So there's not a set rule that says you're in. Everybody's going to have each of the lenders will have their different programs. But just keep in mind that there are a number of stakeholders that you're going to have to navigate. So what can you do now to get ready? Um, Ultimately, once your name comes up in the lottery, we can help guide you through that process. In my opinion, there are really two things that you want to do now. One is if you haven't ever done housing counseling, first time home buyer education, definitely do that. There are lots of different organizations around Westchester and around the state and frankly, around the country that provide this education. It'll help give you a better sense of what your budget will allow for. And if you're wondering if you could qualify for a mortgage, you can walk into any bank and ask for a pre-qualification. And it usually takes 24 to 48 hours, and they're going to turn around and they'll say, listen, based on the income you provided and the credit score that you say you have, here's what we would likely lend to you. Uh, and and doing that early will tell you if you should go ahead and move forward with applying. If you do apply, we'll go through that process with you. So, generally speaking, here's kind of the steps that you want to be thinking about. First, think about what is your income and where does that put you in terms of the AMI levels for Westchester County. Those are published annually. You can go and register on the HomeSeeker platform, which is homeseeker.westchestergov.com. And you set up an account, which you will need in order to apply for this. And based on your income and your AMI, you'll see lots of different opportunities that you may be eligible for. You can go and participate in homeownership counseling. You can apply for the various housing opportunities that are out there. Of course, we hope you apply for this, but there are lots of different opportunities out there. And then here's the real kicker. If your name comes up and you are, one of the first people that we reach out to, respond quickly. keep in mind that the way this works, there will be thousands of people who apply for this. And we'll start working through those lists in large batches. So we'll send out emails requesting documentation from 100 people at once to start this process. You'll have 10 days to respond. And if you don't respond, you'll get rejected. Now, you'll have another 5 days to appeal that rejection and get your paperwork in. But the point is, there are deadlines, and we're obligated to follow those rules so that everybody is treated the same. So make sure that when you apply, you use an email address that you regularly check and then respond very quickly. Now, once you get through that process, you'll go into contract. You'll need to then secure financing. We are happy to help you in that process so that you can shop around. And then once you've closed on the property, you get to move in. And even though we end up being, sticklers for all of the rules, you should know that everybody on this call, we want you to end up in one of these units. And that is the goal for all of this. Um, as Andrew mentioned, this this property comes with preferences. There are two preferences, and what this means is 25% of the homes have a preference for households whose housing was adversely affected by Hurricane Ida. And then 20% of the homes have a preference for households with a member who is a resident of the city of New Rochelle, employed by the city of New Rochelle, or a full-time employee of Westchester County. What does that mean? What that means is when we start to fill these units, there will be a set aside number of units where when you apply, let's say your lottery number is 75, but you may be the highest numbered person who also was affected by Hurricane Ida, and that moves you to the front of the list. And now you're going to get the preference so that you can fill one of those units. Once we get to the end of people who are claiming those preferences, if there are still units available, that we're going to go for that, but there aren't any folks remaining in that preference, then those go back to the general pool. But what that does mean is if any of these things describe you, you should go ahead and mark that preference on your application. I will say you are going to have to prove it. So just know you're going to have to then turn around and show documentation of if you were impacted by Hurricane Ida, you're going to have to show us that you were living in a specific place at that time that was impacted by Hurricane Ida. And then the final thing to say here is that there are also units in the building that can be adapted for mobility and or sensory hearing vision impairment. And so if your name comes up in the lottery and you need one of those units, there are some set aside that can be adapted for that. And I believe I turn it over to you now,
Yeah,
Andrew.
I'll take, thank you so much, Chance.
You
Yeah, and
bet.
so on these preferences, it's, as Chance said, it's just super important if you think you qualify for one of those preferences to make sure that you indicate that on your application because it really does give you a significant advantage in the process. Okay, one thing to note for folks who are New Rochelinos, I'm sure I said that very poorly, I apologize. Um, there is this is not part of this building per se, but there is a down payment assistance program in New Rochelle that is available to certain folks to help fund the purchase price for this. It's an incredible program that can fund up to 19% of the purchase price of your home. And which, if you do the math, that on a $400,000 home, that's whatever, 70 six, seven, eight. It's a lot of money. It's a significant potential down payment to reduce. Again, going back to that math component of the test, it is significantly reduces what the mortgage you need to get. The program is it is a 5 year, again, it's like a loan, although it decreases over time. So if you have it for 5 years, it's you owe nothing back, which is fantastic, right? It is available. You're buying a home in New Rochelle, and that is an important component of it. That this building is in New Rochelle, done. You must be either a current New Rochelle resident, which means at least a year of permanent residency, or a member of the workforce of New Rochelle, meaning you work in New Rochelle or you own a business in New Rochelle, or, and this is a new change to the program, a former New Rochelle resident. And they have, again, specific rules about who qualifies. If this is something that you think might apply to you, that you might fit into one of these categories, please investigate this program. It's available on New Rochelle's website, ideally newrochelle.com. You can see the link here, /down payment. Investigate it. The company I work with, Westchester Residential Opportunities, is a not-for-profit that's helping New Rochelle administer it. So you can reach out to us if you want to learn more, if you want to apply and get approved for the program. Okay, let's talk about process a little bit. Very important. So as Chance mentioned, applications are being uh, taken on the Westchester County's new home seeker site, which is very easy to use. You basically fill out your profile once, you register kind of once, and then you've got an account and you can apply for multiple things. Homeseeker.westchestergov.com. There's also information, more information about the building. We'll show you the other websites you can look at, but there's information on Homeseeker about someone had asked about kind of the monthly costs, like for a 1 or a 2 bedroom, which we didn't show. You can see examples of that on the Homeseeker website. Applications, if you want to be in the lottery, and you do want to be in the lottery, is most important. You need to apply by September 9th at 4 p.m. If you are submitting an application in paper form, which you're welcome to do if you need to, that needs to be postmarked by September 9th and has mailing instructions to come into WR's office. Or you can physically drop it off by hand again by 4 p.m. on September 9th. We'll then gather all that data, clean it up, make sure there's no duplicate applications, and then we hold the lottery on September 24th. The lottery is done electronically on the HomeSeeker platform. So the easiest way to find out your lottery number is at 11:30 on September 24th is go log into your account and see what happened. You'll be able to look at your dashboard and see the lottery number that you received. You will also get an email from HomeSeeker with that lottery number and some next steps about what's going to happen if your email doesn't go through or there's some sort of problem, or you submitted a paper application, you didn't provide an email address, then you're going to get a letter from my office, hopefully within a week or 10 days. Okay. After the lottery, immediately the next step is Chance and his team take over. And this is where the magic starts to happen, right? The real fun is they're going to start reviewing applications in that lottery and preference order. They're going to request documentation. Chance said it, I'll say it again. Respond immediately, respond promptly. When you get that outreach, that email or phone call from Housing Action Council, watch that email. Watch your email, whatever email you provide into Home Seeker, that's where you're going to get notified. You need to respond promptly. You need to meet deadlines. Chance's job is to sell these units. He wants to sell them to you, but he mostly just needs to sell them. So he's going to move. If you don't respond, he is going to move on to the next person. And unfortunately, that's the way that this works. As Chance said, you're going to need to complete a first-time homebuyer education program. You can start this anytime. You can start it now. It's great. It's actually great preparation for getting ready to buy a home. So you're better off starting earlier in case, for example, your credit score is not so great, and maybe there are things you can do to fix that before you're actually going to a lender. So they can help you. They can help you with things like that. Again, you're going to need to secure a mortgage. Housing Action Council has a list of lenders who work with affordable housing, who work with the New Rochelle Down Payment Assistance Program. They know the lenders to recommend. They can give you a broad sort of variety of different lenders to talk to, so you can pick your own. Um, Estimated move-in, so the first units are supposed to sell as around March of 2027. Seems like a long time from now. It's not. It's going to come real fast. Purchasing a home, any home, is a process. It takes a lot of organization and determination. So you're going to be working hard to meet that deadline after that September 24th lottery. Okay, again, the place to apply online, which is the easiest, best way to apply, in my personal opinion, homeseeker.westchestergov.com. This allows you to apply for everything on the Home Seeker site as well. So obviously, we hope you're going to apply for Rose on Main, but you may find other opportunities to apply for as well, other wait list opportunities or lottery opportunities. If you don't do computers, don't want to do computers, that's okay. You're welcome to submit a paper application. You contact WRO. We'll have our information up in just a second. And you can either mail it in or hand deliver it to us in White Plains at our office right up here on the screen. Okay, Tina. All right. And we'll leave this up as we start to take work through the questions out there. You've got WRO, Housing Action Council, um, the developer website for Rose on Main, and then just a general resource for finding housing counseling programs near you, if if you want to start that process now. Obviously, you've got two of them right here with you, which is Chance's firm, Housing Action Council, and mine, Westchester Residential Opportunities, but there are others that you're welcome to use. All right.
I just want to clarify one thing. I might have heard it incorrectly, but
Hmm?
just for the audience out there, Andrew just showed a slide. Tina, you do not have to go back, but a slide said March of 2027 and said first sales. Andrew said first sales in March of 2027. Just to be clear, we expect move-ins to commence um, the first week of March, and that means post lottery, post September, up until March. That's when we expect 126 lucky homeowners to enter into signed contracts. So Chance's team will reach out to you right after the lottery. That there's a process there, but we expect to have all the contracts signed and move-ins to start in March. I think that might
Thank
be
you.
clear. I just want to make sure it was. And I'm going to quarterback these questions, and various members from our team will answer them. For some of them, we're just going to defer to these websites because, like on pricing information, on square footage, all of that is available on the Rose on Main website. You could see all of the floor plans, all of the bird's eye views. You could see the pricing that we talked about. But let's just start attacking the questions. Chance, for the first one, I think you can pick and choose here. Maybe answer 2, 3, 6, and 7 for the first question from Sudari.
Okay. Two, can people who currently have Section 8 purchase a home at Rose on Main? It depends on the rules governing your voucher. So the best thing to do is go to the office where you secured your Section 8 voucher to see if they'll let you convert that for home purchase. But there's nothing on our side of the table that would prevent you from doing that. Um, what was the next one, Jim, that you wanted me to hit?
3, 3 will vary person, it's
That's
a
right.
situation by situation. I don't know if you have a rule of thumb, but it obviously varies.
Yeah, what credit score do you recommend to have a good chance of being approved? Yeah, it varies. If you have below a 650, it gets much harder. So you want that credit score up. What you really want to make sure of is that you don't have collection accounts out there, delinquent accounts that aren't already dealt with. Most lenders, they'll give you some flexibility as long as it's clear that you're on the path to paying everything down.
Number number
Number,
6, number 6, Chance, estimated
yeah,
closing costs. What's the rule of thumb you use for homeowners?
Yeah, the rule of thumb for closing costs is about 5%. And for down payment, 3 to 5%. Most folks, it looks like they're ending up with a 3% down payment through the Sony May programs that are out there. And yes, there is a down payment. This developer team is deferring to whatever down payment is required by the first mortgage lender. So they're not going to tell you you have to put down 10% or 20%. If you can find a mortgage program where you only have to put down 1%, they'll defer to that. But it will be determined ultimately by your lender.
Okay, and Sudari, I apologize if I'm not saying your name correctly. We're not answering the other questions on your list only because those are readily available on the Rose on Main website, and you can take the time to look at all of the pertinent information there. For Tiffany's question, I make 75,000 a year and would be three people total. Would I qualify for a three-bedroom? You would qualify it to with because you're not making more than the required maximum income, then it just becomes Tiffany chances Andrew's presentation about what is affordable to you and can you afford it based on your other monthly debt, but you would qualify. What are some approved lenders you guys work with? Chance, I'll defer to you on that.
There's quite a few. M&T, City, Home Depot, not Home Depot, Loan Depot. There are quite a few. If you would like, when we do reach out to you, we will send that your way. Um, but we definitely recommend going to one of those lenders. And if you want the list, go ahead and send an email to hack@affordablehomes.org, and I'm happy to send you the full list.
Um, can someone who currently receives Section 8 housing vouchers, Chance already responded and answered that one?
Yep.
Yeah.
Gas, electric, Wi-Fi, cable, cost not included. So the only gas in the building is for the emergency generator. So that'll be part of your common charges. Wi-Fi and cable are a separate cost for the individual homeowners that's provided in the amenity space and under the common charges. And Hannah, electric is separately metered. Is that correct?
Yep.
So the electric will be separately metered, which means you'll get your own electric bill as well
Yeah, and the Wi-Fi and cable in your unit will be separately metered
in
as
the
well.
unit. Yep, thank you.
So, yeah.
For the vision disability, should we provide medical documentation from our primary physician? I'll defer to Chance on what's required. I'm not sure if you even know Chance. Is that Chance? That's for a UFAS unit. Um, I don't think I don't know what the documentation is. I should know the answer to that. I don't.
Um, yes, you will need the same documentation you would need for any other accommodation request.
Makes sense.
But you don't need to provide that with your application. You just need to make sure you check the box.
Right.
Correct.
It'll come
Correct.
later on. Yeah.
Right.
That's right.
Andrew, I'll turn to you for, I just started working in Rochelle. Do I qualify for the Rochelle down? I assume that the question is, do I qualify for the Rochelle down payment assistance and or preference unit? So the preference would be yes, and I'll defer to you on the down payment assistance.
Well, the preference, so just to clarify, and this it's a little tricky. The preference rules are slightly different from the down payment assistance rules.
Right.
So the preference requires that you work for New Rochelle, meaning be a city employee. Um, the down payment assistance allows for folks who work in New Rochelle or own a business in New Rochelle, and that there I don't recall, I don't think we put the timeline for that. The other requirements are, you have to live for at least a year or whatever. I don't know what the specific requirement is for how long you've worked in New Rochelle, but I'm sure there is one. Yeah.
Okay.
I'm gonna jump in here because I said I would answer this live and I don't know how to type a response. So Ronell Norford had asked, will we be notified about being selected by phone or email? Almost all of the communications will come by email until later in the process. So make sure to use the best email for you.
Chance, could you answer the next one too? If I'm selected through the lottery, eventually start the home lending process, how long will I have to secure a loan?
So you'll have 10 days to get your initial pre-qualification. That's fairly simple at most places. Um, Once you go into contract, that time frame can vary. Generally speaking, you want to be able to secure your mortgage within 30 days.
Second part of the question, how long do I have to work for the city? So I think we just answered that.
I'd like to make one clarification here.
Liz,
Um, you have to work in the city of New Rochelle in order to qualify for the preference. You do not have to be an employee of the city of New Rochelle, and that is a mistake on our presentation. So just to clarify, I just checked in the offering plan. And you just have to work in the city of White Plains, not for the city. I'm sorry,
sure, sure.
in the city of New Rochelle, not for the city of New Rochelle.
So we will correct that information
Yeah.
and it'll be posted on our website. Thank you, Deborah.
And I do
Uh,
also just want to jump in. I believe it is 45 days to secure a mortgage commitment once your contract is signed.
Thank you. Do you guys work with the Neighborhood Assistance Corporation of America? I'm not familiar with that program. Andrew or Chance, are you? Or is anybody else on this?
I'm not.
I think that's another type of first-time home buying program, but I'm not positive. So they're generally the first-time home buying programs, if they are approved by HUD as a HUD first-time home buying program, then that is sufficient. And I believe NACA qualifies, but I just don't know. So we just have to check with them.
Okay. Um, do you know if there's a law that you can break your rental contract if you're going to government housing? I don't know where I saw that.
There is not. This is not government housing, by the way, but I'm not aware of that. You don't have a right to break your rental contract because you're moving into an affordable home.
Are you developing more properties in downtown New Rochelle? Ronell, good question. L&M and WBP are always looking at wonderful opportunities, and we feel really strongly about the New Rochelle market. That said, we're not currently in development or under construction for any other current projects in New Rochelle. Do you have to be a first-time home buyer? Oh, I skipped one. I'm sorry. Well, do you have to be a first-time home buyer? The answer is no, but you do have to comply with the asset test or meet the terms of the asset test. And then who is considered a first-time home buyer? Chances there like specific language on that?
Yeah, it's really someone who hasn't owned a home within 3 years. Is that right, Andrew? 3 years or 5 years?
It's 3. Yeah, that's right. It's 3 years, but that's not really relevant to this. You don't, that is, there are certain grant programs that will require that you be quote unquote a first-time home buyer, meaning that you haven't owned a home within the last 3 years. Some of the Sony May down
Yeah.
payment assistance might be in that vein, but that is not a requirement here to purchase a home. Again, it might if you are a quote unquote first-time home buyer, it might make you eligible for some down payment assistance or something, but that's not a requirement to purchase a home here. As a practical matter, if you own another home, you're probably going to have a problem with the asset test. So that's
Right.
hopefully that's obvious, but yeah,
Okay.
And
Some of the
you
apartments
and
have a
you do
balcony.
have to, and I think part of what gets confusing is you do have to take the first time homebuyer education
correct.
certification program.
Right,
And that's just a program that everybody will have to take.
correct. Yeah.
Some of the apartments have a balcony. How do you select who gets an apartment with balcony or not? So we don't have balconies. We have on the fourth floor, which is the first residential floor, apartments have terraces, which is similar to a balcony. There's no balconies above that though. And essentially, whomever is fortunate enough to be early in the lottery list will get to pick their apartments or their homes sooner. Some might pick units on the fourth floor because of the terraces. Some might pick units on the higher level floors because that's their preference. So it's really based on where you get chosen in the lottery. Will the webinar be able to be available to watch later? are the workshops required to enter the lottery? I have been trying to reach out to suggested organizations for information. So working backwards, I would love, Gina, for you to post what organizations you've reached out to have not received a reply. That would be very helpful for our team. The workshops are not required to enter the lottery. This is just done for informational purposes to help people understand the opportunity and to answer questions. And Tina, we do post the webinar on the website. Is that correct?
Yes, we do.
Okay, so the
Yes.
webinar will be posted on
This
our
will be up shortly on our Learn More, under our Learn More tab.
on the Rose on Main website.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Does the HOA fees increase yearly? It's a good question. We create, Hannah, Tina, Deborah, and I created a schedule, which is the HOA fees, and it's backed by contracts for each of the specific line items. It's approved by a third party. Then after that, once the condo is fully formed, the board of managers, which is will be board of managers being homeowners in the condo that are voted on by the other condo owners, will make decisions about the condo fees and other business matters going forward. We would recommend, increasing common charges by inflation each year, by 2, 3, 4% each year, just so you can not need to have a assessment or a large increase 10, 12 years down the road. So it's always healthy to have very small increases, but yes, to have increases each year. But that's a decision that the homeowners will make after we've turned over the board of managers. Susan asked, at what point during the process are tours available? Susan, our team fully expects, because of the demand and the great location and the beautiful building, that these are going to be sold out before the building is done. In our experience on affordable and moderate income condominiums, the demand is so strong that that's the case. So we are not planning for any tours. That's our current position on that and what we expect to play out. As far as choosing the size of the unit, I completed my application, but now realize my household may increase by September. I will be caring for my niece. Can we ultimately change the size? That's a great question. And Chance, I think you're probably best qualified to answer that.
Yes, you can. I would recommend actually withdrawing your application on Home Seeker and submitting a new application with that in mind. Just to make sure that the thing you're submitting sort of identifies you correctly, since when we reach out, we're reaching out based on the household size in the application. But generally speaking, it is fine to change your household size during the application period.
Cheryl, the answer is yes. For a one-person household, you would qualify for a studio or a one-bedroom, so you should check both.
Right.
Vera,
You
I'm
don't
sorry,
have to check both. You can check whatever you want, but we'd advise you to check everything you qualify for because it just gives you more options.
Thank you, Andrew. Recap the down payment percentages required by the buyer. Again, that'll vary. Chance, you just want to repeat the
Yeah,
general.
yes. So what we've seen with similar properties is that most people are aiming for like 3% down. A good rule of thumb is to assume you would put 5% down. The owner, the developer, is not requiring, they're deferring to whatever your mortgage company requires. So there may be some lenders who say, I will only give you a loan if you can put 20% down. And others may have programs that allow you to put down as little as 1%. So it's really going to be determined by wherever you go for your mortgage.
Would I have the opportunity to print my online application before I submit it? Andrew, I think the answer is yes to that, right?
Yeah, you get to when you submit on HomeSeeker, you will get to review the information in your application before you submit it. I as to whether you could print it, I don't believe there's a particular function for you to print it, but you could always, just print the screen or print from the application itself.
Okay.
So yeah.
Brianna, the education certification program does not have to be completed before entering an application. It has to be completed post lottery when you're called by Housing Action Council to begin the process. But no, it does not have to be done beforehand, if I'm understanding your question correctly.
It doesn't have to be done. And most people don't do it before applying or even before their
But you
name
can.
comes up in the lottery, but you
You can.
can.
Yeah.
That's right. Usually the certification lasts for a full year, so you can do it now.
If I heard Andrew correctly before for Rudolph's question, or Chance, I think might have answered, you recommended Chance pulling the application and resubmitting a new one if you want to change the bedroom size.
That's what I would recommend.
Okay?
Just make sure you resubmit before that lottery deadline. Don't lose
That's
your
right.
chance to be in the lottery. Yeah.
And
Okay.
also, if you're interested in a 2 bedroom and or a 3 bedroom, you should check both. Is that correct?
Yes.
That's also correct. Yes.
Yes.
Which apartment have views of the water? Nearly all of the apartments have views of the water. We spent a lot of time on the layouts. I don't have the apartment floor plans in front of me, but we could certainly, if you're chosen in the lottery, walk you through the floor plans and explain the views. Kishan is asking the preferred lenders contact info, please. Chance, would you recommend that Kishana reach out directly to Housing Action Council?
And send me a note, chancem@affordablehomes.org.
When Gina,
And
Gina's the one who
register for.
said she had not gotten a response from one of the organizations, so I am not sure. A free workshop online, July 29th.
Chance, are you okay? I'll paste your email in as the answer so they have it.
Fine.
Of
Yeah.
course. Yeah, of course.
Do we have a workshop on 7/29?
That's not our workshop, but maybe that's like a first-time home buying workshop or something
Okay.
else. Anyway, Gina, I'm sorry if you haven't gotten a response. I'm sorry on behalf of whoever hasn't responded to you, but if you email, if it's with WRO, you can email me, obviously, or if it's with Housing Action Council, you can email Chance or any of the folks on the screen that you see. Here are those email addresses. Um,
Yeah,
and
we don't have a workshop on that date.
yeah, I don't know
Okay.
whether we do, but we'll
Chance, how long is the first-time homebuyer certification course?
Great question. So it consists of two things. The first is you go through eHome America, it's online, and you do an 8 hour on-demand online course. And you can do it at your own pace. Typically, people knock it out on a Saturday. And then once that's done, you do a 1 hour one-on-one counseling session with us, which we usually do over Zoom. It's very low lift.
If you're currently a homeowner, are you okay to apply for the condos? Again, Leslie, there is an asset test that applies. You're likely going to fail the asset test because of your home ownership, but I don't know your exact situation. So I would recommend reaching out to Housing Action Council to discuss. If I just retired working for the city for 30 plus years, am I still able to put a city employee? Andrew, do you know?
yeah, no, if you're retired, then obviously then you do not currently work for the city. I think Deborah said there, I'm a little confused, Deborah, as to whether there's a clarification about how that is written into the preferences. My
I
understanding was that,
can I can go back to the correct slide.
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
uh,
no, it is correct in here, but let me just go back to the correct slide. It's right here.
no, no, you need to be employed in the city of
Oh,
New
in the
Rochelle,
city.
not
Okay,
by
yes,
the
yes, you're
city.
right.
If you're not, uh, if you're not an employee of the city in the city of New Rochelle at the time of application, you do not qualify under that. If you happen to be a resident of the city of New
right.
Rochelle, however, then you would qualify.
All right, so we'll double check those preference rules and make sure we've got it right. Jenna.
We will have correct information posted on the website by tomorrow. We just
Yeah.
will make sure we vet this information. Um, no, you cannot rent. You have to be the homeowner for the 60-year period. So no, you're not able to rent after the AHC grant has been paid off or at any time. Are your retirement assets excluded in your gross income? Chance?
They're excluded in your asset test. But they are not, if you're drawing income, they are not excluded from your income. It was a good question, though.
That's a good question.
So that a lot of good questions. We appreciate that. We're going to stay on for another 2 or 3 minutes to see if any other questions trickle in. Tina, when is our next presentation?
I believe it's August 4th, and that's also online.
Correct.
So on August 4th, for those that are still on, we will do the same thing that we just did now. For the 1 or 2 things we might have got slightly wrong, we will have that corrected by then. And then we're doing another in-person presentation. Tina, when is
On,
that?
I believe
August
it's
12th.
August 12th.
August
Yes.
13th.
August 13th.
Oh, we
Okay.
moved it.
At the New Rochelle Library in the Ozzie Davis Theater at 6 p.m.
Chance, you want to jump on that one?
The types of qualifying retirement accounts. I'm not sure. Um, so that would be, 401k, 403b, any,
IRAs.
yeah, IRAs.
The qualifying part, I believe that's like the IRS, the tax code kind of terminology. So basically it's an account that the IRS has determined as a qualified retirement account. So we're probably not qualified to give you a complete list of what that is. But I think Chance just rattled off kind of those are the ones that you're going to see 99% of the time.
Right. Yeah, an IRA would likely be considered, it would be considered a retirement account. You bet.
Thank you.
Okay, we're gonna wait 1 more minute, and then again, we thank everybody for taking part of their afternoon to listen to us. It's something that our team, this is a development that our team have been working on for years, so we're really excited to be at this point where we're out there talking to people about everything.
Very excited. Thank you all for joining, taking your lunch hour with us.
Like we got 2 more.
Oh.
There's a 60-year requirement that's required by the state, and New York City does have a higher than 25-year cap on the affordability term, but it's project by project based with the agencies that are in charge of that project.
I'm thinking of retirement account.
You would likely still be eligible. Your
Again,
retirement account would not count against your asset limits.
right.
Okay, down to 20
Great.
seconds.
Well, the last few coming in. I think Jim answered the HOA fee already.
HOA fees, yeah, we did answer. I'll just be quick again. It won't be in our control. We do recommend slight increases each year made by decisions made by the Board of Managers. But that's not our decision to make. What time would the in-person on August 13th be?
6
Tina, is it?
p.m.
6 p.m.
We said 6 to 7. Obviously, if there's more questions, we'll stick around after, but call it 6 to 7.
Great.
We love all the compliments. That means we did a good job.
Yeah, thanks. Thanks for the thanks.
Oh,
Our-
Kashana's got.
Kashana, you're asking all the best questions here.
Really good.
Water meters billed separately. Hannah, what are we doing with water?
Sorry. I'm sorry. What was the question?
Water meters separately billed? Do we have individual water meters or one meter?
I can't remember right now if it's house meters or I'll take a look.
Kashana, we'll have that answer for the next meeting. I think it's part of your HOA fees and it's not separately metered, but I'm not certain. And a monthly adoption subsidy, does that count as an income source? The answer is yes.
Yes, it does.
Okay, I think
All right.
Andrew,
Thanks, everyone.
we'll
Thank
close out.
you.
Thank you all. Great week.
Thank you.